Welcome to the Effortless English Show with the world's #1 English teacher, AJ Hoge, where AJ's more than 40 million students worldwide finally learn English once and for all, without the boring textbooks, classrooms, and grammar drills. Here's AJ with a quick piece to help you learn to speak fluent English effortlessly.
I'm AJ Hoge, author of Effortless English. Learn to speak English like a native. I have one website only. That's where you can get my official, real courses, effortlessenglishclub.com. effortlessenglishclub.com. That's my only website. There are some fake websites out there. Be careful. Some people have gotten cheated. They found some pirate website and they paid money and then they don't get anything. So they got cheated. And I can't help you if you go to a fake website, if you go to some pirate website. There's nothing I can do. We can't help you. So be careful, okay? Effortless English is very popular. So you have some people out there cheating and they kind of copy things. They copy pictures from my website. They copy my website to try to make it look the same. So you have to be careful. There's only one website. This is it, effortlessenglishclub.com. That's the only place to get my real lessons. Everything else is fake. So that's it, effortlessenglishclub.com. That's where you buy my lessons, buy my courses. Okay? If you buy from us, then if you have a problem, we'll help you. We'll solve the problem. No worries. Hi, everybody. It's been a long time. I've had a long break. I'll explain why in a minute. But today's topic, first of all, is how to handle crisis, fear, loss, great big difficulty in your life. Like really tough situations. I don't mean just normal kind of smaller problems that we all have all the time. I mean very big, scary things that happen, very tough things. That's what we're going to talk about. And specifically, I'm going to talk about a new book that I have been reading, actually that I already read, that I finished. It's called The Battle Plan for Prayer. The Battle Plan for Prayer. And the writers are Stephen and Alex Kendrick. Stephen and Alex Kendrick, The Battle Plan for Prayer. And I'll be talking about chapter 6 today from that book. If you like today's topic, then I recommend, get the whole book because it's a very good book. So why have I been gone so long? You might guess from today's topic that in my own life, I've had a lot of crisis and big, scary difficulties for the last several months. And specifically, it's one of my children has a very serious health problem, and we found out that he's going to need some probably surgery again, and just a lot of big scary stuff, right? For me, probably for most parents, we can handle difficulties and pain in our own life better, easier than if our children are having difficulties or pain or anything, that's much scarier, right? I know for myself that I'd rather face much more tough, difficult situations for me, but not my children, right? So it's very tough. And one of the problems, one of the very big difficulties I had is, and still have, is that, there's many things in life we can't control. There are big, scary things that can happen, very large problems that are not in our control. These are the most difficult ones, the most stressful, right? The most terrifying, right? People, for example, maybe they stress about their health. And maybe they're, fat or overweight or they have health problems. But that is in your control largely, right? You have a big influence over your own health. You can eat better. You can exercise. You can take herbs and supplements. You can do Ayurveda or Chinese medicine, or there are many, many things you can do to improve your own health. In most cases, not always, but most of the time, normal problems like being overweight, that kind of thing. Money problems. You're not always in control. Like many times people lose jobs, right? But it's a big surprise. You lose your job and then it's hard to get another job, and maybe the economy has changed and your skills, what you do, is not needed so much anymore. That's scary. That is scary and is big. But you do have some influence over that, right? Because you can change careers, you can study, you can go back to school, or you can learn new skills, and you can learn how to market yourself. You can learn how to be really good at job hunting and interviewing. And it's not easy, but you do have some control over that. But there's some things in life that you have no control over, right? Like, so for example, someone in your family gets seriously sick or dies. And you can't do, what can you do about that? Right? There's nothing you can do to change that outcome. Or, people get in traffic accidents. They have a traffic accident and they get terrible injuries and then terrible problems that come from that. Again, this is totally out of your control. Once it happens, it's done. And, it can be very tough to face these situations. My own case, you have a child who is going through some very big difficulty. And again, a lot of it or most of it out of your control. And this becomes very frightening. So how do we deal with it? And this is the question I've been facing for myself. I was a couple months of just being really scared and stressed and depressed. Severely depressed and a combination of just constantly stressed out and afraid and worried, and just being also exhausted, so tired, not sleeping, and it's like I just kept struggling with what do I do. And this book helped me a lot because in these kind of situations, this is when we turn to praying. Because this is where you have to turn to something higher than yourself. When you're facing these kind of terrible problems, extremely frightening problems, many things that are out of your control, how do we find strength to keep going? Right? Because we must keep going. We cannot lose hope. We cannot let ourselves become permanently depressed. Right? Like for me as a parent, I need to be strong as a father to help my child. If he feels me, if both my children actually feel me, they see me, they know that I'm depressed, I'm scared, it just makes them more scared, right? So I struggle with this. I realize I have to do something because I need to be a good father, and I need to give them confidence and support. And especially my one child who has, a lot of difficult things ahead, but his sister as well, right? Because the whole family can feel it. And this is often the case. We don't live in a vacuum. We don't live alone. We all influence other people, and other people need us to be strong. Sometimes maybe it's hard for us to be strong for ourselves. And at that time, we need to think of others. It's like, well, they need us. Other people need us to be strong, right? Not to just give up, not to be depressed, not to be hopeless. So let's talk about it. And, my first step, and the thing that has helped me the most, of course, there are lots of little tricks for little small things we can do to deal with stress, right? You can find them online. You can find them in books. People tell you to exercise, get good sleep. That's hard to do. If you're super stressed, it's hard to get good sleep because you just sit there, you lie there in your bed, and you can't go to sleep because you're worrying so much. So it's a nice idea, but how do you do it? And even sometimes if you're super depressed, it can be hard to exercise. Like I got so depressed and worried that I got sick, and so I had a fever, and I was just in bed, and so there was no exercising. I couldn't go to jiu-jitsu. I couldn't do any exercise, just laying in bed. And then everybody else in my family got sick, which created even more stress. So my kids got sick. It's like everybody was sick. It's terrible. So I think the spiritual level is the first level, the most important level we have to focus on when we are having an extremely difficult time in life, facing something very difficult, very scary, and especially things that we can't totally control or even influence. So this book I quite liked. It's called The Battle Plan for Prayer. And it talks about the power of praying and why praying is important and how it can give us strength and help. And in chapter 6, he talks about, this is one of my favorite parts of the book, they, his two brothers, Stephen and Alex Kendricks, they talk about specifically how to pray. Like, well, because this, and I like this a lot, because a lot of times people will talk, pray, and, I need to pray about this. But then, how do we do it, right? Like, and they talk about actually 4 different kinds of praying, and they recommend that you do all 4 every day. Try to do all 4 kinds of praying, or when you are praying, try to do all 4 of them, at least a little bit. So let's talk about that, and we can talk later if you want, especially when we get into the comments and questions. If you want to talk about why praying is important, how does it help, these kind of things. But let's just get into the specifics. So the first kind of praying, right, when you're praying to God, and that might be whatever name for God you have. The first kind is they call adoration, prayers of adoration. What does that mean? Prayers of love for God. You're basically saying, God is great. You're like in Christians might, just say, hallelujah, praise God, right? That's a common phrase you'll hear in English. Praise God. What is it in Islam? Allah Akbar, God is great, right? It might just be in Sanatana Dharma, we'll just chant the names of God, or we might just say, Om Namo Narayanaya, which means I bow to you, God, right? These are prayers of adoration where, so often in praying, it's easy for us that we're asking, we want something, please help me, please help me, please help me. And that's fine. That's okay. It's good. We'll talk about those kind of prayers in a minute. But we also need to go the other way, just like any relationship. You can just think of your relationship with God, that your relationship with any person is the same, right? If you have a relationship, like you're married, your husband or your wife, if you only ask them, you just want them to give you love. Give me love, help me, give me love, help me. It's very one-sided. It's not really a relationship, is it? It's just you taking. In a relationship, you need to give love too, right? Tell your spouse, tell your husband or wife, oh, I love you, you're wonderful, I'm so happy to be with you. So this is kind of the same idea, that you're trying to give something. The second kind of praying, they call, Stephen and Alex Kendricks, the writers of the book, they call prayers of confession. Prayers of confession. And in some religions, confession is quite formal. I believe in Orthodox Christianity and Catholicism for sure. They actually do confession, where they go and they actually talk to a priest and they confess. What does confess means? It means when you're praying, you're being open about your weaknesses, your sins, the mistakes you've made, the bad things you've done, and asking for forgiveness, right? But it's a way of being open and honest about yourself, really being honest about your weaknesses and your problems, because so often we try to hide these things and pretend that we're perfect, right? Or maybe not pretend we're perfect, but we don't want to think about all the bad things we do, and they might be small things, right? It might just be feelings. Maybe we're jealous. Maybe we're selfish. We're all selfish sometimes, right? So prayers of confession, you're just confessing again as you pray to God that, please forgive me for these things that I've done and my weaknesses, and please help me with these things. So this is a way of you become a better person. This makes you humble. This is an act of humility, true humility, real humility, not just pretending that you're humble, but real humility, meaning recognizing that we're not perfect. None of us are perfect. And, most of us are not even great. So prayers of confession. The third kind of praying that they talk about in the book in chapter 6 are prayers of thanks, thanksgiving. This is gratitude. I've done so many shows on this topic where I talk about the power of gratitude, that even when our lives are very difficult, we have so many problems, we also, though, always have things that are good. Even when a lot of things in our lives are bad, we still have good things, and we need to remember those things. Psychologically, this helps to give us hope and make us stronger. I think spiritually, by giving thanks even at our low points, even when we're having lots of difficulties, that this is very powerful spiritually. So you give thanks, give gratitude as you pray. Thank you. And you just try to think of everything in your life that's good and say thank you. Like I say, thank you for my family. Thank you for my children. Thank you for my wife. Thank you for effortless English. Thank you for my wonderful students all around the world. Thank you for my health. I'm still healthy. Thank you for for my home. I have a place to live. I'm not homeless, right? Thank you for all the food I get that we can all eat. We're not hungry, right? We should be thankful about these things because you can just look at the news and look around the world. There are people who don't have these things, people who are starving right now, people who are in war zones, who are dying and being killed and just all kinds of horrible stuff. So if that's not happening to you, it's good to be thankful for that and to remember that, okay, I have some really tough things happening in my life now, but I still have some good things. And to keep remembering that and connecting to that every day, praying prayers of thanks. And then the final kind of praying in the book, the final kind of prayer, prayers of supplication. There's a long English word. I'll discuss what that means in a minute. Or often people call this petitionary, another long word, petitionary prayers. What these mean is this is where you're asking for help. Okay, that's what this means. Supplication, petitionary prayers. It means you're asking for help. You're asking, please help me, God. And this is the one I think that is the most natural for all of us, especially during tough, difficult times, right? Because many times, if you're facing things in life that are so scary and difficult, that there's no one else that can help you, right? You feel like there's no hope. And so this is when you have these petitionary prayers to God, where you're like, only God can help me now. And this is how I've felt in the last couple of months with my son. So this is where you say, God, help me. Please help me. And there are many kinds of petitionary prayers, many kinds of help you can ask for. I mean, you can ask for God just to give you things, just ask for miracles, but, that may happen, that may not happen. I think a lot of times the most effective prayers of asking, of supplication, are where you're asking for strength, asking for courage, ask for guidance, ask for wisdom, ask for clarity, meaning help me be clear. What should I do? Please lead me. Please guide me. Please help me. I like these kind of prayers myself, and I feel they're effective. And we'll get to this finally as the last topic. So let me just review then. I recommend you get this book because this book talks more about the power of praying and why it's powerful. Because we all know every prayer is not answered. Okay, you can't just demand from God or the heavens, give me everything and then it's going to happen. We know that doesn't work. Okay. So that's not the point. The point is that it can spiritually make you stronger, fill you up with hope and guidance and clarity, no matter what happens. This is what I found, that over the last few months of just focusing mostly on praying and praying and praying, a little bit of chanting and kirtan, but mostly praying, that now finally I'm at a point where I do feel like I've gotten a lot of guidance. You can call it intuition, whatever you want to call it, but I feel much more calm, much more hopeful, strong, courageous as a result. So it does help. And any of you who have faced extremely painful and difficult things in life, you know that sometimes there's nothing else that will help. Just praying. So again, get this book. It's called The Battle Plan for Prayer. The Battle Plan for Prayer by Stephen and Alex Kendrick. Just Kendrick. That's their last name. They're brothers. Kendrick. I highly recommend the book. Chapter 6 talks about the specific kinds of prayers, and they recommend do each kind every time. They recommend in the book you pray in the morning and pray at night. You can make your own, Islam famously has, very specific times. It depends on your religion, your schedule, whatever you want to do. You can make your own schedule, but the point is, as you do it, say at least a couple of words of adoration to God. God is great. Hare Krishna, Om Namo Narayanaya, Allah Akbar, whatever it is you want to, for your religion. And then prayers of confession. Confess your weaknesses. Confess your mistakes, your sins, we all have them. So this helps you to know and be honest with yourself. This will give you true and real humility. It's very, very effective and helpful. Prayers of thanks, of gratitude. Stay connected to gratitude. No matter how horrible things are in your life right now, find something that's good and say thank you for that. And then finally, only at the end, the last kind of prayers of asking for help. Please help. Please help me, God, right? All right. Now, as I said, just a quick note again, my only real website is effortlessenglishclub.com. It's on the screen if you're watching on video. All others are fake. Be careful. We've been getting some reports, people complaining that they went to a fake website, they paid money, and they got nothing. I can't help you. If you do that, we can't help you. It's not there's a lot of cheaters out there, okay? You got to be careful. So go to our official website only. This is our sales website, effortlessenglishclub.com. That's the only place to buy my courses, only that one. Power English is a good one to start with. My Power English course, it's on the homepage. Go read about it. All right, let's get into our comments and questions now. We can discuss this topic, any topic you like in the comments, because I've been gone so long. You might have questions. I'm sure there might be a lot of questions for me right now. All right, let's get in here. I can't read the Arabic writing, but this person says, praying is very important in Islam. It is indeed. It is very demanding and is highly recommended act of worship. I believe it was 5 times a day. Is that right? In Islam? Yes, right. Highly recommended. I mean, more the better, I think. As much as you can. I think it's a great practice. And it is comforting. It will help you. At the very least, we can talk about the various benefits. But I will tell you this, it's comforting. Because when you're filled with stress and fear and worry or grief, all these terrible feelings, the act of praying and praying and praying about it every day, maybe and multiple times a day, it will comfort you spiritually at the deepest level. And the reason I'm doing this show, I thought about, I wasn't sure if I should do this topic today. I know it sounds very religious. It is a religious topic, spiritual, religious. But, I realized, well, I've just gone through and still going through this extremely tough time. And I know out there that you maybe now are going through that very, very tough time, or in the past you have, or in the future you will. Because I think in life, all of us at some time must face these things. Just as the Buddha said, life is full of suffering. It's the first truth of Gautama Buddha. He's right. There's no avoiding it. There's no avoiding it because there is death. Death is reality. Loss is reality, right? And there's just no way to avoid it. You might be lucky early in your life. I was. And nothing much happened, but then later in life, something's going to happen, okay? So we're all going to face these kind of things eventually, and that's why I'm doing this topic, because I know I don't want anyone out there to become hopeless, and I know that some of you are going to face even more difficult, more painful situations than I am. And so I just try to share things that help me. That's all I do in my show, and with all of you, anything I try to teach, I'm always just teaching you things that have helped me in my own life. I try these things myself first, and I just want to help people who are going through tough times. I want to help you have great success and reach your goals too. That's kind of the fun part. Those are the fun things, right? The goals, make more money and be healthy and do all kinds of cool stuff. And, those are fun and they're great. But then sometimes life hits us hard. And we just got to get through something very tough and painful. And that's where we need things like prayer and some other things, which I'll talk about in other shows too. Fabricio Talasan says, do you have a fear of dying, teacher? Do I personally fear dying? No, I don't fear dying at all. Not at all. But I don't want to die. The only thing I worry about is that I want to live long enough. I have a sacred duty to my family, right? I have young children, so I don't want to die. I need to raise them to be healthy and happy adults, and do everything I can in this life to help people and to be helpful and useful and good. But when the time comes, I'm not afraid of my own death. No, not at all. One Tech, with, of course, an extremely important question. Is there a God who can hear my prayer? What do you think? Is it just a psychological feeling? This is an extremely deep and big question, and it's not a question that other people can answer for you. Because, of course, my answer is yes, of course there is, yes. But it took me several years, many years, to find that answer for myself, and not just find it, but to know it with certainty, 100% certain. So this is, for some people, they're already certain, and that's great. And some people are not sure, like I was not sure for a long time. And, I just read and continue to read, books about philosophy and books about this question. And, I read the atheist arguments from, the people like Daniel Dennett and, what's the other guy's name? British guy, biologist. Anyway, the famous atheist guys, right? I read their books, and I read, but then I read the other arguments. And, just more and more I realized that, absolutely the answer is yes. But you gotta really find this answer on your own. And I think you should. Let me give you another book recommendation, because I just read it. It's actually, if you want to some people are coming from more of a science background. This is the world we live in now. So there's quite an interesting book about this question, about God, from a scientist. It's called Return of the God Hypothesis. I believe the writer's a physicist. And it's an argument for God from a scientific point of view. So I think that would be, for some people, like I'm more focused on the philosophy. It was an okay book. I already, had my answer, honestly, but it was kind of interesting to see a scientist arguing and discussing this question from the viewpoint of physics, astronomy, and science. Quite interesting. Return of the God hypothesis. Stephen, what's the guy's name that wrote it? Stephen Meyer. Meyer, Meyer. Stephen Meyer. Return. I can type it into the comments if you want. Return of the God hypothesis. And it discusses how, a great many super famous scientists, maybe the most famous is Isaac Newton, absolutely believed 100% in God, and that science and God are not exclusive. There's some kind of militant, radical atheist in science, that a couple I just mentioned, but it's not at all scientists, certainly not. Okay, let's see. I'm going to go back closer to the beginning of the comments, see if I missed any here. Just a lot of people saying hello. I know you guys missed me. Camille Osam says, how are Joe Weiss and Kristen, my friends? Are you all in touch? Yes, indeed. I just texted them this morning, so we text and still communicate. They're my good friends. Time Story says, since 2008 until now, I've continued with you, AJ. 15 years. Wow, that's amazing, huh? I know, I was just recently thinking about that. I've been doing this for like 17 years. Amazing. Jennifer Amoncio says, welcome back. Hi from the Philippines. Happy to see you again. We really missed you. Yep. I'm glad to be back. And I've been having a tough time, honestly. I didn't go to jiu-jitsu for like a month. I was just depressed and overwhelmed and stressed, and much better now. Doing much better now. But honestly, this book is one of the books that helped me tremendously. This Battle Plan for Prayer, really good. And of course, the actual praying being the most important thing. Huang Lei says, this is the thing that happened to me so many years ago. Yeah, I know. A lot of you I know have had some extremely tough. Some people have, in Sanatana Dharma, we call it karma. Some people have extremely difficult karma from childhood. They're born. We know some people are born into families where they're abused, like terrible, terrible families, and they suffer right from the beginning. Other people, they're born with very difficult health problems, like my son. And then other people like me, I had good karma as a kid. Like I had a really easy, pretty much a perfect childhood. No problems, really. A few small things, but when I compare to people who really suffered as children, my little problems were nothing. But now as a father, I'm having a lot of very big difficulties and stress, and so I think, like I said, I think eventually all of us face these things. Maybe there are some really lucky people who have good karma, good luck, good fortune their entire lives, But for most of us, there's gonna be some time. Maybe already happened. Maybe it's gonna happen. Maybe it's happening now. But it's good to prepare yourself spiritually to be ready for it. Chris says, hi, I'm glad to find you on YouTube and listen to you. You speak very clearly. And I live in San Francisco. Oh, little pause there. Sorry. I also live in San Francisco. Well, hey, Chris, I might be going through San Francisco. We'll see. Anna, good to see you. Gigureva, I'm absolutely delighted to see you. Such an important topic today. Indeed. I'll be back doing more shows again now. Probably just start. I'm going to try to start just by doing once a week. Just to get back in the habit again. Reem says, thank you for your efforts to get us fluent in English. You're welcome. Akko, good to see you. Akko in Tokyo. I missed your YouTube live. Thank you. Yep, I missed you guys too. Yeah, Anna says, the most difficult times in life were when I was taking care of my little children. When I was at maternity leave, one of my children had problems with health. We had reanimation. Yes, it's exactly. It's so tough, really understand now, like, because there are parents who have such difficult situations with their children, serious health problems or, maybe developmental problems such as autism and other issues. And it's very tough. It's tough and it's scary, right? I will say it makes you a better person, though. It will make you into a more patient, more loving, more compassionate, more humble person as a parent when you go through this. It has for me, that's for sure. Good. Cheryl Salazar says, been listening to your videos for quite a while. It's been motivating me to learn more and master English. I'm happy to discover this channel. Thank you, Cheryl. Morak says, long time no see, AJ. I've been listening to your podcast and mini stories 5 hours every day. After 3 months, my listening skill has improved a lot. I bet. Good work. 5 hours a day. Man, very good. Impressive. Good. Vaim Veromige. I'm sorry to mispronounce your name, probably. How do we handle crisis? Prayer is a good way to face the reality. In my case, I praise the Lord every day. Yeah. And of course, our Father. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Agreeing with me. Shivam from India. Hola, saludos de Chile. Hello from Chile. Thank you, Rose. Hello from Thailand. Lots of people saying hi. Okay, I'm catching up here on the... Gregory says hello from Haiti. Thank you. Yeah, Vaim makes a good point. This is kind of about the topic, today's topic. Says, before we ask God for what we want, first thank God for what we have. And this is just a general great attitude in life, isn't it? Before we ask and try to take or get, we should first focus on being grateful for what we already have. And this is true spiritually with prayer. I also think it's just true psychologically for just like your goals. Like people, for example, who want more money. Fine, it's okay to want more money and you want a better job, a better business, a better career. And it's fine to focus on that goal and think about it, getting more. But I think first, though, and every day, you should always focus on what you already have and being thankful. So even if you live in a little tiny one-room apartment that is very small and you have very little money and you have a goal to become very successful, that's fine. But every day, before you think about your goal, say, thank you. Oh, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm grateful that I have a place to live. I'm grateful I'm not living in a war zone. I'm grateful that I'm fairly healthy. I'm grateful that I have food to eat. I'm grateful that I have a good family. And just think of everything you're grateful for first and really feel it. Don't just say it, feel it. And you can pray and do this. And you can just say it out loud and you can write it down in a journal. And then after you have that great feeling of gratitude that your life already has so much good in it, then you think about, all right, now what are my goals? All right, I'm going to build a great business. I'm going to make more money. I'm going to get a better job that I like better. Whatever it is. I think that's exactly the way to do it. That's the right order. Gratitude first. Okay, I'm catching up now. Let's see. Oh, okay. Well, as soon as I'm about to read something, it skips ahead. Sorry, let me find it again. Okay, Marlon. No, not Marlon. Where was it? Oh, yeah, Heaven. Heaven says, my son is autistic. I have just been through a difficult time today, like every day. Yeah, I understand. I'm dealing with something similar, actually. And I have nothing to do other than pray. pray means hope to me. Heaven, I'm going to give you a few suggestions because I've actually researched this topic. Number one, Gemini is a language thing. It's English, but it might help your son. There's something called Sunrise. You can check that out. Those are two good ones to start with. And you've probably done a lot of stuff already in yourself, but just in case one of those is helpful to you. Good luck. I understand how difficult it is. I have a very clear understanding how difficult it is. Nagmed Madavi says, I really needed to hear these words tonight. Thank you so much. You're welcome. That's why I'm doing the show. I needed to hear these words for the last few months. So I understand. Sometimes it's so helpful just to hear there's hope, and to give some hope and some some focused on something during very, very, very tough times. Alex says, please try to read books from Lee Carroll and his crayon channeling. I'll check it out. Yeah, Mike says, I think it's more important to be grateful. We usually forget about that part. Indeed. Yeah, RBK says, I believe the whole world is living in difficult times. Yeah, at some level, yeah. We see threats of war and hunger and selfishness. Faith in God and firmness of spirit is the only way not to lose hope. Yes, I mean, this is what I was saying, in the beginning. At some level, we all have problems to face, right? Because the world is the way it is, and there's no way to avoid some problems. And, maybe you're not living in a war zone, but, you might have to deal with selfish people. You might have a job that you really hate. There's always something, right? You might have some kind of health problem. Maybe it's not huge, but it's still bothering you, right? There's always, right? But so that's sort of the normal all the time. And we can sometimes get depressed about that until we get hit by a really big crisis, something terrible. And then we realize, oh, those other problems were actually quite small, right? So this is, again, why to focus on gratitude, because however bad it is, it can always get worse. Yeah, like Nilab says, everyone has their own mind. They have to use their mind and do the research to find out why they are created. What is the purpose of their creation? Then they'll find out the information. Exactly. This is why you can't give the answer to someone. You can give your own answer and you can encourage, but this is not a small question. These are huge questions. The question I got, is there really a God, and are my prayers effective, or meaningful, and what is the meaning of life? Why are we here? And okay, these are not small questions. You shouldn't just have some quick little answer you heard in a movie or something, right? These are deep, big questions. So absolutely, you may need years to really think. And when I say think about these, you need to read books about these topics. This is not something just for Twitter, okay? This is something that, or X. This is, these are the most important questions. I mean, these are the questions of life. Who are you really? What is the actual purpose of life? Why were you created? Why were you born? Why are you here? Where are you going after? I mean, when you have to answer these questions to decide what the rest of your life means. So take some time to do it. It's not usually a quick thing. In fact, it probably never ends, this question. You're always thinking more about it and going deeper. David Lano says, if I buy Power English and the original course, can I have a discount? In fact, you will get a discount. Just buy one, and then after you buy it, you'll get an offer to add the other one at a cheaper price. So that's how you do it. Like Raman Samal says, life is full of suffering, but you have to be strong and learn. And indeed, like Buddha's first truth is life is suffering. It's usually, in English, I see it, life is suffering. I'm not sure that's the best translation, but life, suffering is not avoidable in life. Would probably be the best way to say it in English. But that's only the first one. The other three are very hopeful. The other three of the Four Noble Truths are extremely hopeful. The first one seems quite depressing, but it's true. Life meaning this material life that we're in now. But the other three, suffering has a cause, is the second one. And there is a cure to that cause. And then the cure is the Noble Eightfold Path. So, meaning that the Buddha actually was very optimistic, right? As is Islam, Sanatana Dharma, Christianity, very optimistic in the long term. None of them promise easy life in this life. None of them promise, no philosophers, no religions promise, easy life, no suffering. That's not reality. But if you think eternally, long term, then it's a very different thing. It's super optimistic. And not just that, guys. The other thing someone was asking about this question of, of religion. I gave you the book, The Return of the God Hypothesis, which is kind of very sciencey. But for me, in terms of books that really help you with this question, I think the near-death experiences are very powerful. So the research about near-death experiences. Life After Life is the book I did for a book club, Life After Life. And that's very powerful. And it's not any one specific religion. But when you start reading all these stories of people who died and came back, they had a heart attack, their heart stopped, and then the doctors brought them back 5 minutes later. What did they experience? And first of all, it's amazing how consistent they are. They're not exactly the same, but they're very similar, the experiences. And then you start to say, wow, thousands of people have had these similar experiences. And they all have this message of hope. That's very powerful. So Life After Life, read some books about near-death experiences. Or if you want, there are a lot of YouTube channels now that interview people who had near-death experiences. They died and came back. And I think, these are much more common now because of, modern emergency medicine, right? So 1,000 years ago, it was not common for someone to die and come back again, right? I mean, I don't even know, maybe didn't even know CPR, just to use your hands and try to pump the heart, right? So 1,000 years ago, if someone had a serious heart attack, or if their heart stopped, or they drowned in a lake or something, they were just dead. Almost very, very rare for someone to die and then be brought back after their heart and brain stopped. But now it's, I wouldn't say common, but it's much, much, much more common, right? So this is why we have so many more people talking about these experiences, and you can find it on YouTube. You can, and there are actual researchers who go around and they confirm that the people really did die, and they confirm a lot of the details of the stories, in terms of what happened. Yes, they died. Yes, this happened. All these kind of things. So it's quite interesting. Noduto says Buddhism denies the existence of any supreme God. Well, I'm not I don't know what specific branch of Buddhism you may be talking about, but that's not true. Buddha never answered that question. He was asked the question and he remains silent. So Buddhism just does not address it. It does not deny God, but neither does it. Does Buddhism? And I, again, we say Buddhism. There are lots of different kinds of Buddhism, right? Tibetan Buddhism and Thai Buddhism and etc. Mahayana, Theravada, etc. So it's hard to say because I don't know if there might be some specific Buddhist group, but there are certainly many Buddhist groups that, especially Mahayana Buddhism, that come very, very close to affirming, saying, yes, there is God. Not quite 100% directly, but pretty darn close. But a lot, just like in Thai Buddhism, as far as I know, they just don't discuss. It's just not discussed. It's, the idea is you have to find out for yourself, right? So, but Buddha himself just did not answer the question. He just stayed silent. So he did not deny God. He just didn't discuss the topic. And in fact, in that way, in many ways, Buddhism is more of a system of meditation and psychology than religion. Somewhat, but it's a little complicated. Yeah, Maria Perdomo says, important topic for all people. They need something to believe and to pray for. It helps. Yeah, Claudia Fernandez, I've realized this already, says, I have 2 married children. I continue to have a lot of worries about them. It never ends. Yeah, I realize this is going to be the same. I keep thinking, hoping, okay, we'll get through all this, and then I'll stop worrying, but I realize, no, I think as long as I'm alive, I'll worry about my kids at some level. Yeah, but, we love them, and that's our job, to care for them. Gunawan says, I absolutely agree that being grateful is very important. No matter how many things you have, if you're not grateful, it won't be enough. Exactly. That's that hungry ghost syndrome they call. It actually comes from Buddhism. Is this hungry ghost is like a person who you can never get enough, right? You have $100 million, but now you want 200 million. You have 500 million. Oh, I need 1 billion, right? Or it could be food. Oh, I can never get enough and never get up, and then getting fatter. Oh, still eating more, right? This never-ending greed. Gratitude helps to fight that, as does humility. Kun Kam says, watching from Myanmar, I prepare myself because there's a war zone close to us. Luckily not too close. Yeah. Who knows what's going on? We'll see. This is, speaking of this, these are things we cannot control. We have zero control over what's going to happen in the world, politics and power as the American empire starts to crumble. Who knows what's going to happen, Marlon Vado says, I just want to say thank you for the nice effort to bring useful topics to us. I have seen God's hand in many situations in my life. I read Psalms for inspiration. Very nice, very nice. Omar Pineda says, greetings from Mexico. I've just finished your effortless English course. With the respective repetition, it was so powerful. Where'd it go? To improve my English and my language acquisition. Thank you. Fantastic, Omar. Good to hear from you, and thank you for sharing your success. Okay, well, I'll go about an hour today, so we can go a little bit longer. Yeah, like this is the attitude, right? Colette Compan said, Jesus also said there will be troubles, but be of good cheer because he has already overcome the world. Well, exactly. And it's not always easy. Like I said, I find that sometimes we're facing a very hard, tough problem, and maybe your certainty is super strong, right? And you know that you're not afraid of dying at all. But it can still be very hard in the moment now when you're really suffering, when things are tough, or even worse, someone you love is suffering. It can be tough, even though if you think about the near-death experiences, for example, okay, well, eventually everything's fine. There's really is nothing to fear. Do not fear, right? Bhagavad Gita, the Bible, they both say that. Do not fear. But, it's tough in the moment when you're struggling and in pain or, but it does help still. I will say that maybe it's hard. Maybe you can't always be of good cheer. I know that's what we should try to do, right? Or, Sanatana Dharma, to have equanimity, to not be so concerned about the ups and downs of life, even the terrible things. But, and the great saints, the great saints, right? The great men and women now or in the past, they could do that. And that's why they're saints. And that's why we, respect them so much now. But it's because it is so hard. But for most of us, the average normal people, someone you love dies, you're going to feel terrible grief and pain. But you'll feel less when you have this certainty. When you pray, as we discussed today, you'll feel like, when my mom died, about 3 years ago now, it was very painful, but I just finished reading about near-death experiences, and of course, I already had certainty about what happens after death, and so, of course, it was super painful for me, but less so. I was able to I could accept it more peacefully than maybe if it had happened 10 years ago or something like that. Then it would have been much more tough for me. So it still can be tough, these things, right? Or if you're just in physical pain, right? Sometimes it's just a physical pain, right? And so, we do your best. You do the best you can. That's the part of our code in Effortless English. You do the best you can. You at least try. Alex T says, have you read the book Conversations with God? I did read it, actually, but it's a long time ago. A long time ago. So I don't remember any details about it. I think I remember it was good, but I just can't remember the details. Oh, Ikigai, yes, Ivet. Good to see you. It says, Ikigai, the book is great. It's about the Japanese concept, meaning a reason for being. I've had other people recommend that book. I need to read it. Ikigai. All right, I think we're about done. Okay, good, Fernando. But I want to say hi to some people that I recognize here. Let's see. Yeah, Doodle Scorpion gives some very good practical advice. I handle fear in this way. I simply do whatever the task is, even in fear. Just do it. You don't know how strong you are until you decide to face a situation with courage. Exactly. And this will be the topic of some future shows, getting down to, I'm focusing on the spiritual level right now, the highest level. Highest or deepest level, most important. But then the next level is the psychological level, the mental and emotional level, right? How do you handle crisis? And this is exactly what I'm doing. And one of the things, like Doodle Scorpion here, the profile name, you focus on the next task, right? Because if you look at the whole big problem, it can be super difficult, frightening. So you're just like, what do I need to do now? What's the first thing to do? Just going to do that. Get it done. Get it done. Okay, you get that done. What's the next step? Just going to do that. Get that done. Don't even think about anything else. Don't think about all the huge thing. What's the next step? Okay, good. What's the next step? That's what I've been doing. Little step, and little by little, making some progress. This is what you do. And I've already faced, when my kids were born, we faced a very huge crisis, and exact same thing. It was just, I kind of had a little breakdown for about half a day, and then I realized, well, I have to do something. I can't just sit around being miserable or being overwhelmed. I got to do something because no one else is going to do it. And so I said, all right, what's the first thing? What needs to be done? I just made a big long list, and we just went down the list. Do this one first. Done. Do the next thing. Done. Do the next thing. Done. Boom. Step by step. Step by step. That's how you get through crisis. I will do a whole show about this. It's called micro goals, and a lot of even the military uses this idea. Amina, great to see you again. Thanks for saying hello. It's Alexander Perez. Fernando Diaz, great to see you. I have noticed that desires create suffering. Indeed. Once we learn how to control our desires, we start being grateful for the simple things life offers. Indeed. Wanting more, wanting more, wanting more. It never ends if you want more. It's a very opposite of gratitude. Because if you say you want more, it means you're not quite happy or grateful with what you have, right? To some level. So it's okay. We want to keep improving, and there certainly we can do that. But the gratitude part should be the strongest part, right? Samir Nouri says, behind every beautiful smile, there may be hidden scars of sadness and struggles. Well, this is a good point. You never know when you meet people, like strangers, people you don't know. We look on the outside, but you never know what that person has been through. You don't know what they have overcome, right? You don't know what they may be dealing with right now. We don't know, unless we get to know someone and talk to them and really learn about them. But when we first meet people, we don't really know. They might seem cheerful, but they may have had so many difficulties in life, right? You never know. So it's good to be kind when you can. Marlon says, I'm sorry to hear your mom passed away. I hope you find comfort among your beloved family and become stronger with God's blessing. Very nice. Thank you so much. Kunkam with a practical question. What language do your kids speak? English and Japanese. I'm trying to teach my baby English. She understands a little. She's just 2. That's a good age. Could you give me advice on teaching kids English? Yeah, just have maybe a few hours every day where you just talk to your child in English only. Also, just get books, kids' books, little story books that are in English, of course, and read them. You're going to repeat the same books a lot, whichever ones they really like. Read to them in English every day. And you could even show them, I don't like too many videos, but you could find some really simple videos and show them. Like there's one we like called Shimajiro. It's Japanese, but they actually have an English version of it. I like it because it's usually just sweet, very nice family situations. So little things like that. And that should be enough. When will you do your next show? Probably next week. I'll try to do it next week again. Yoev says, hi AJ, I have one question. Do you often meet with your parents or relatives in the USA? I know you live in Japan. No, I have not met with them, and it's been 5 years since we went to America. Now, a couple of my sister and my mom came here the first year when my kids were born, But so it's been 4 years since I've seen my sister. I said my mom passed away, but my father. So we're probably going to go back this year. And we have other reasons to go back too for my son's medical care. But probably going to go back to America for the first time and have a kind of a long visit this year. It's been a long time. I haven't been in America in over 5 years. Okay, well, I think that's all. Follow me on Gab or Twitter if you want to. I'll announce when the next show is. But thank you so much. I think that's enough. I'm so happy to be back again. So again, effortlessenglishclub.com. You can see on the screen here if you're watching this right here. It's my only official website. Be careful of the pirates, guys. A lot of people get cheated by pirates. So that's the only website where you can buy my lessons. We have one other one where you actually get the courses after you buy. But for buying the lessons, the courses, effortlessenglishclub.com. Start with Power English on the homepage there. It's a good one to start with. If you need business English, if you need pronunciation, you can do that too. But effortlessenglishclub.com is my only real website. Buy my courses there. I'll be back again with another show soon, probably next week. Lots of love to you. Mwah! And I'll see you again soon. Bye for now. What you doing, kids?